Good morning to all. I welcome you all for our mega event, Design Thinking for Novice, where we have seven great speakers from different companies. We're going to be talking about design thinking with their experiences, insights, and case studies. So we have the first speaker for the day. It's Sankar Subramaniam, who is the engineering department and is also part of the DevOps product development for CA Technologies, which is part of the Broadcom company. So if your people are aware of Rally software, so it's part of that company. So he is a passionate about building high performance teams and innovative solutions that are scalable at enterprise level. He leads the agile transformation and innovation programs for Broadcom. So over to you, Sankar.
Okay, thank you, Rohit, for the wonderful intro, specifically highlighting about my companies and Rally. A lot of people might not have the understanding of Broadcom and the Rally. Thank you for that. So I would like to welcome you all for the session today. It's pretty good to see a good number of crowd here, 70 plus. It's still the numbers are going up. Thank you so much. First of all, good morning to everyone. Thank you all for making time to join this session today. So specifically during the situation of COVID, I know everybody goes through some of the other challenges, but taking time for learning is something really appreciable. Continuous learning is something important. And thanks to ANI for arranging this session for us all. And I'm pretty glad and happy to be here. Want to share my knowledge around the design thinking. Today, for the next 20-25 minutes, what I would like to do is take you all through a round of innovation, the types of innovation that's happening around the world, both IT, non-IT, and also talk about what is the most feasible innovation? How do we make the innovation viable? And also, how do we make that innovation a successful innovation for the company to make a business out of it? And what the frameworks applied by some of the successful companies. So I would share some insight that I have learned from my MIT education and through some of the practices that's followed by one of the topmost innovative company called IDEO. Let me quickly get on to the content here. Thanks to Rohit, he already talked about me, so I don't want to spend too much time here. Okay. What's innovation, right? So a lot of people talk about innovation at one point of time, innovation, digital transformation, all of these are like kind of buzzwords. But what is really the most meaningful innovation? So innovation is something that you have an idea that you want to make it a transformational one that is most useful for your customers and make it something that is viable, that is acceptable in the market, acceptable by the customers, right? And overall, you need to do something called value creation out of the innovation that you are trying to do. Let's look at some of the various innovation spaces that's applicable and available in the space of innovation. New products. So we all know about the wearable gadgets. So that's quite a famous one, right? And not just the product, you also have services innovation, you have process innovation, you have innovations under services. So some of the examples that I have quoted here are here, right? So one of the things that you can see here is, take example of marketing, right? Check. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the this particular product, but this is a quite famous product which they started something, the first product to sell in the market with a 50 paise sachet that reached the entire rural segment to sell the shampoo. The time where people were being conventionally using bottles and specifically the rural segment were not familiar towards using some of the shampoo and other products. How did this company called Kevin Care reached out to them and made it so famous? Look at the geo, right? What is the profit that they are trying to make out of geo? It is not the broadband or the internet connection that they are trying to sell it, or not the smartphone services that they are trying to provide for the customers, but it is the data that they are trying to sell. And look at the challenges that we have today in the situation of COVID, right? Everybody has challenges. So you can't go and connect with people. You can't go to the certain banks to open up an account. This impacts certain banks, right? So they are not able to get new customers, new business. But look at Kotak. They are making a difference over there. 5 minutes online, you can have account created. That's a new process. Experience, I don't need to talk about um, Swiggy experience. You all are familiar with that. And I don't need to talk too much about Amazon. But what you need to know about Amazon is they started their business in the books. They're selling business today. What not they have? They have Amazon Cloud, which provides you an easy to instance. And also it provides you a machine learning capabilities that you can perform an algorithm and any operation that you would like to do it using their hosted services, right? In addition to what you buy today from groceries to medicine, it's all coming from Amazon. It's not just that Amazon provides you, it also provides you an opportunity for anybody go and use that platform. So they basically created a channel of innovation. So these are different type of the innovations that you can see. One key thing that you can see is the value proposition that they are able to make out of it. Okay, so some companies' innovations are very successful, some are not. But if you look at it, every company is trying to innovate and trying to make the difference and transform themselves to meet the customer, market, and the technology demands. But not everybody is successful. Why? Look at Apple. They are one of the most successful company in terms of innovation. And everybody would agree to that. No doubt about their success and no doubt about their innovation. But are they the first one in the market coming up with those innovative products? Certainly not. Look at either iPhone, which is a smartphone, or look at iPod Touch, which is MP3 player at one point of time, or look at an iPad, which is a tablet at one point of time, right? These innovations are not the first innovation from Apple. If you know, the first smart or the tablet was from Microsoft, but they were not able to make it successful even today. Similarly, the MP3 player is not from Apple first. It's from Sony and few other companies. They have tried as the first. Smartphone. Interestingly, IBM was the first in the market to introduce a smartphone, but they are not successful. They were never able to make it successful. It was so heavy for anyone to use. Tablets. Why? Because Microsoft tablets were very huge, bulky. They were not able to hold it. What was the problem that Apple was able to solve and make a difference in this area? Whenever you look at any innovation, it needs to be looked at from a people perspective, what it means. What does the people need? What is the problem that they want to solve? What is the experience that they would like to have when the particular problem is solved? That's more important to look at. And when it comes to the technology, what is the feasibility of adapting to a particular technology and making it successful? Is something that we need to look at it. The third dimension is your business. What business model you can develop through that particular innovation? Will you be able to make money out of that particular innovation? Will customer pay? Will the people pay for your idea? Will people pay for the service that you're going to provide for them? All three needs to be looked at it. If any company works towards an innovation considering only one of the three dimensions, they're not going to make it successful. That means the innovation lies at the center of all three dimensions. It is important to focus all three dimensions to make a successful innovative company. This is where Apple able to make a difference. You look at their iPhone, it solves, if the usability, the customer experience is pretty high, the technology, yes, it's all ahead of technology, and they're able to adopt those technologies for the need of solving the customers and user experiences. And business model, they have a wonderful business model to make money out of whatever they are selling today. To give you an example, they are not making the complete money out of an iPhone. In addition to that, they make money out of the iTunes, the apps that is developed. And specifically, iTunes is one of the biggest money-making division for Apple. When Apple started the iTunes, people were telling 99 cents one music download. Who is going to buy that? Today, how many people are downloading musics? May not be here from India, but look at several other countries. But honestly speaking, today, even in India, a lot of people subscribe for iTunes, which is 99 rupees per month. Not bad. You get a very good quality music. And it's something that people buy every month and subscribe it, right? So that's the revenue channel that they are building through the innovation that they are making out. That's one of the reason we call Apple as a successful company. What is this approach called? This approach is called as a real win worth model. The real is a people problem. Is it real? Is the need a real? Can we win the technology? Do we have resources, both people and the technology resources available to handle that particular challenge? And is it worth working towards that innovation? Will customer pay a check for me and make it worth and viable for the market? That is called as a real win worth model of innovation. This is what applied in most of the successful companies. How do they do that, right? So we talked about Apple being a very customer centric. They provide a better user experience than any of the other products that's available. So how do they do that? They clearly understand the customers, understand the unmet needs, and they think differently. They don't impose a solution. They consider fresh solutions from the customers' experiences. This is how they make a difference in their innovations. And not one time. They do a lot of prototypes. It's not the success is the first time. They try again, multiple times, and then make it successful. So this is what a gamut of, or a kind of concept towards the design thinking. Now, we talked about design thinking. On the right side, I'm just putting the same image for you all to understand. So it starts with the empathy, right? What it means. So you go to the customer, understand their real problem, understand their unmet needs. So how do you do that? Like now, who is going to do that? You will have a team of whatever you call product manager or product marketing person or the designer. You can have different names in your company. But how do you do that, right? What skills they need to have, how different they needs to be to show a difference in their innovation mindset, what culture you need to bring in. That's what we are going to see in the next few slides, and associating towards that a framework for the design thinking. Now, let's talk about what skills a designer should have, or a person who is going to work on that particular problem solving. The first thing is he needs to have a mindset to explore the problem. That means go and see. It's not just like, you hear the problem of a customer over phone or through an email or through someone else. No, they need to literally go and see the customer, whatever the problem they are. Today, what is the problem for them in using a phone? What are the challenges they have? How can I make a difference there? And really sit there and feel for the customer pain points. This is the first foremost approach the designer should have it. The second thing is they have to come back and work towards creating multiple designs. When they develop these designs, It's not going to be the final one. They have to have multiple prototypes to experiment their ideas. Once they experiment, during the experiment, there would be a lot of revisions that they need to go through. This is something where a culture and mindset towards a patience of investing on the prototype is very, very important. And it needs to be quick. That's also very important to be successful. You can't take all the time to do this. The third most important factor in the framework is how do you implement it? You need to get into every detail possible so that it is really making something different and meets the customer needs there. So you need to go through multiple iterations. When I say you first develop a prototype, go back to the customer and show it to them. Hey, does this meet your needs? Can you try to use it? And does it solve the problem? Can I see whether you are able to pass through that particular challenges that you had? When they are using it, you observe them and see if they are finding any new challenges, or does it solve the original challenges that they have in using the product, and come back, create another prototype, make some revisions, enhancement. This is how you have to do it in multiple iterations, right? So how does your organization can support? What culture you need to bring in towards this particular concept of design thinking implementations, right? It's easy to say that, yeah, you can send people to market, get understanding of the customers, come back and create prototypes and implement it. But it is not easy. You need to have a holistic approach towards this. The first thing is, how do you structure your organization, right? So during the explore phase, you need to do a project kickoff. You need to monitor that. Does the team works in the timeline? You could call it as Kanban model or Agile model, whatever it is, right? And you need to have some kind of survey and feedback. All of this requires some coordination. So this is where you need to do a project team needs to be established. The second thing is, we talked about like going to the customer side, coming back with the observations and getting into the details of what the problems the customers are facing. So this is where you need to do a lot of brainstorming, and down selection is basically prioritizing what needs to be done, what not to do. And basically you need to do a testing and prototyping. So this really requires a kind of mentoring and coaching the team. So this is where the leadership plays a very important role. The third one is the implementation. During implementation phase, you might have to look at a certain technology adoption, or let me put it this way, you need resources. It could be a people resources, or it could be a technology adoption requirement for you. Invest some money there. This is where you need a sponsorship from a senior leadership. So getting a buy-in for such implementation is very crucial. So now coming up, it's not just the top-down approach. From bottom-up approach also we need to look at it, right? So when it comes to the bottom-up approach, you need to have a team which is very diversified. Why? When you do a brainstorming, it's very important that the team comes up with a different idea, different perspectives, so that it's good. So in some cases, if you look at a company called IDEO, they hire people for innovating from different sectors. So that means they get a finance person working in that particular idea, healthcare industry person working in that idea, a telecommunication person working in that idea. But the idea is to solve a problem for a shopping cart, right? But it could be a simple thing. They have no experience around that, but they get people from different experiences. Diversity is key here, right? And the other point that I would say, most of you believe that Agile supports failure, but here fast fail is very important, and supporting that is also very crucial here. So coming back to this, right? Bottom-up approach. We talked about it. We talked about the culture, what needs to have. So when you hire a person, right, to be part of a design thinking team, or an innovation team where you are going to apply the design thinking principle, then you need to look at that person. having an ability to have an empathy towards customer problems, and being very optimistic about solving some issues or challenges, being very collaborative person. On top of it, one key thing today the industry is missing out is integrated thinking. A lot of companies are not having people having an integrated thinking. So one of the good book that I would suggest is Opposable Mind, right? So it's basically just not the analytical thinking of a people. People also need to think from different perspective, connecting the dots. That's what the best of Steve Jobs. He was able to connect different things together and able to solve the problem. That's one of the reason where they were very, very successful. Okay, what can you do to support innovation in your team? We talked about some of the things already in terms of building a culture, etc. But the most important thing that I would say is allow the team to experiment and let them fail even if they are failing, right? Make it more fun, right? It's not just like no strict that you need to do it. Reward them even for small success. My suggestion would be, if possible, even reward some failures, right? Calling them to retrospect, how did they fail, what they could do differently, right? Ask them to talk about it. This is something very important, because the minute you ask them to talk about the failures, that's where the learning comes, and that's where the new ideas shapes up in a better way. So with that, I would pause here for any questions, or I'm not sure if we have some time. I think we have time, I believe, right?
Yep. Thanks, Sankar. It was a great introduction to our event today about design thinking. So we do have a couple of questions. So let's start with, yeah, Swati Chandra. So Swati Chandra is asking when to go for design thinking and when to opt for design sprint, especially for innovation by startups.
Okay, I think the minute you hear a problem from your customer, right, immediately you can apply for a design thinking, right? Design thinking is nothing but go sit with a customer, understand how they are using it. So for example, one of the applications that when we developed, it's a small ticketing system, right? You all know the ticketing system is nothing but you call a call center and report a problem. They create a ticket and saying, madam, this is your ticket number, right? That's the application we were developing. But what we want to do is we want to innovate it and make it better usability for them. So we went to the on-site and sat with the analyst and started observing how do they get the call, what do they do, right? We noticed that when they are getting a call, they are updating the system. Also, they are writing few notes in their notepad. They are trying to take a pen and then they are trying to look for a paper. That means they are getting distracted. So then we thought, why don't we build a small note here in the system itself, so that they don't need to take away their hands or move away from the system, and they can just concentrate and work, right? So this is the way you observe the customer and solve a problem. So where it starts from the very beginning, that the minute you hear a problem, go to that place. Try to see, can I look at your problem? Can you show me how you did it? What are you doing? Let me understand. Observe. That's what I would say. Does that answer your question?
I think it answers. I hope Swati, you got your answers. So yeah. So next question is from Rakesh Chandra Goyalji. He's asking, what is the relationship between innovation and design thinking?
Okay. So it's a means to solve the problem, right? You have variety of ways to innovate, and how do you approach the innovation? Design thinking is one of the approach for you to innovate.
All right. That's great. So, so my takeaway is probably, I really liked your thing. In fact, I'd like to add probably from automobile industry, probably, if you are aware, like we have this auto expos and people generally, the manufacturers showcase their concept cars. I believe design thinking is one of the aspect which is present over there. So, yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So just want to reiterate, right? Design thinking is not just for a product that you can design, like that you can hold it in your hand or feel it or anything. It can be applicable to software as well, right? Even you can apply a design thinking even when you write an email, I would say. right? Send an email to someone and see how they are able to read your email, right? Are you putting the right content in right places, right? And that's where, like, you can go observe and what they do, and then, like, oh, okay, they are not able to respond back to your email in the right way, then you can apply a design thinking there as well, right? You put your signature, you put your phone number in the right place. That's also a design thinking. So it can be applied in every place possible.
Right. Anyways, thank you, Sankar. It was amazing to listen to you